This is like a casual idea, and all of a sudden we're talking about like, yeah.
It's Andrea Ocampo. Okay, so on paper, I'm a TV host, producer, brand strategist, and media agency.
What about not on paper?
Oh my God. That's over here. We can have a long conversation. Not on paper. I am a dreamer and very multi-passionate.
Storyteller.
Yes, to the core.
I was going through your Instagram. You were a Miami Dolphins cheerleader. You were also the arena host for the Florida Panthers. You must have some stories.
It's so funny because I've been in the world of media for now 20 plus years. I started when I was like 18. And I started going to auditions because I was a dancer. I grew up dancing. I was taking dance classes with a group in South Florida, girls that we would just really take classes everywhere and just really hone our dance skills. And we would do, we were backstage dancers for music videos. Anytime there was an audition, we would always go. And honestly, I made the Miami Dolphins, NFL Miami Dolphins, the very first try.
Wow.
I was 18, going on 19, very innocent, not knowing what I was getting myself into and not knowing what a big deal it was. I just knew I made it. My rookie year was awesome, and I was with the Miami Dolphins for 3 seasons.
And did you travel with the team?
No, we didn't travel with the team. It was only for home games.
Okay. I heard the practice schedule for cheerleaders is just so rigorous and very demanding. And it's almost like they take advantage of you, but at the same time, you're working for a national organization.
Yeah.
So you're getting that from that. How was it? How was it working?
So yeah, the work environment is very rigorous. But at the time, I just knew that it was an honor, right? And I wanted to get into the world of media. At the time, I was going to school for journalism. I had an internship at NBC6. And then I made the team, and I just knew that that was going to be an opportunity to break into the world of media. So I was able to really shimmy my way into amazing opportunities. And now the industry has changed as a whole, where the girls are getting paid a fair rate.
Right.
Compared to when we did it. We were getting paid a fair rate. But at the time, 19, how does this happen to be a part of the team?
That's a heck of a stepping stone. I would imagine some women would be like, well, that's the highlight. I'm gonna work towards being a cheerleader for the Dolphins. And you just boom, cheerleader for Dolphins. That was like the first stepping stone.
Yeah. And looking back, I realized how cool that experience was. And at the same time, I've always been somebody who's just been very grateful for the moment.
Right.
And I realized early on that it was a very important role. And I took it very seriously. Like that's what I did 24/7. Like I said, I was going for my degree in journalism. And I was really lucky because I was able to parlay that into stepping into the world of sports as a sports reporter.
And then from there, you joined the Panthers or something?
No,
It
it was interesting because my career is not linear, right? I did everything in the world of entertainment. I was doing red carpets. I auditioned for E! Entertainment. I was a food stylist. I was a mascot. Like I did a lot of things to get my foot in the door. I was going to a lot of castings for movies, for music videos. I said yes to absolutely everything. And at the time, a lot of it was for free. I just knew I had to really pay my dues. It was the era before the influencer, right? It was an industry that it was very hard to get into to work in any form of television. It was years later when I knew that I wanted to be a sports reporter, where I saw an opportunity for the Miami Dolphins not the Miami Dolphins, the Florida Panthers. I went to a game and I saw an arena host and I was like, oh my goodness, I can do that job. And it was very hard to get that job because I stalked the director of game presentation until he said yes to see me. I stalked.
Like,
meaning like
I like your new couch in your living room stock, or what are you?
The bushes with binoculars. Not that type of stalking, but I would email him all the time.
Right.
I would email him all the time, and until he said yes. Well, so let's just say it wasn't a formal me giving my resume.
Right.
Yes, we will see you. No, it was like,
you're gonna hire me. This job.
You're gonna hire me. I know I could do a good job. And he was like, do you know anything about hockey? I'm like, no, but I promise I will learn. And it was just, at the time, I was relentless and I knew I wanted that opportunity. And to this day, I thank Pete Soto. He's had an amazing career and he's the one who really gave me an amazing opportunity into the world of sports.
You wanted to do live? Is that why you're so adamant about being the host for the Panthers?
It's not, I saw it as a huge challenge. I saw it as a huge challenge. I saw it as an opportunity to use all of my talents that I had grown thus far. And it was a huge challenge. And I was just really lucky that he gave me a chance. And looking back at all of it, I would say working with the Florida Panthers for 4 seasons was the highlight of my broadcasting career.
Wow.
Just because working with them, they were so patient with me in honing my skill. I was horrible my first season. I really had to learn how to use my voice. I really had to learn the sport. And they were really patient. They worked with me. I had an amazing team in regards to like the production and game presentation.
Right.
We all worked in the trenches to hone my skill. And to tell you the truth, now looking back, the industry doesn't do that. I've been a part of very toxic work environments. And that season of my life was amazing because we all helped each other. I love working in sports just because, you know, it's the highs and lows of a team winning and then losing, and you're in this together. Yeah, it becomes a camaraderie that I realized that was hard to get, and that's why I worked in sports for so long.
So you would be interviewing the players, and then you would be also talking with fans during.
Yeah, it was really layered because what I loved about it, Pete Soto, the game director, game presentation, and team, they gave me a lot of freedom to be as creative as I wanted, which is awesome. Right. So I would interview the players in the locker room. I would do game recaps. I would interview the fans. I would do stories out in the field, which is great because I'm like, I got my journalism degree. This is where I can really go out in the.
So you were able to practice all the facets of everything you wanted to do, and you had autonomy to just.
Yes, and I grew into that. And the coolest thing as well, I was a professional dancer, and they allowed me to do choreography, to entertain the crowd, to do just like really outside of the box. So it was that one job that I used all of my skills. Yeah. They're like, kid, if you think it's gonna work, do it. You know, we did choreographies with the mascot, with the ice dancers. So it was cool because I was able to do it all. In my last season, I became the Hispanic marketing director, which was awesome because it really had just gave me all the responsibility in the world. So that was my last season with them.
That's cool too, because I remember seeing a Florida Panthers commercial. It was marketed towards Hispanics. Yeah. And the grandkids were watching hockey on TV. Mm-hmm. And Abuelita comes in and she's like, what are they doing? What are they doing?
That was the campaign we were
They like hockey. He says it with his accent. Yeah. And I was just like, that's awesome. Yeah. Because soccer is huge here, baseball is huge here.
And that's exactly the lens that we wanted to use. You know, it's like, if you like soccer, you're gonna love hockey.
Right. I saw a video. You do love the Panthers because I saw a video on your Instagram. Speaking of stocking, mm-hmm. You were crying when they won the Stanley Cup. It was awesome.
I was there for the building of the team when there was hardly anybody in the stands. Mm-hmm. I mean, the other team was in the stands, but you know that South Florida, especially the Panthers, they had a really tough run. And just to see them win, I mean, my heart will always be with that team, you know, and the fact that they're, second year Stanley Cup champions is pretty impressive.
My sister bought us and a bunch of friends tickets to go to the finals game last year mm-hmm. and this year. And we recorded a video together, her and I. And it was like a great bucket list because mm-hmm. the Panthers and the bonding moment with my sister, like talk about camaraderie.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And that fan base. Yeah. The fan base, I still talk to the fan base. The fan base became my family, and they're still my family. They follow they've followed my career. I love that team.
So you did a lot of live on camera, and more recently you got into like behind the scenes.
Yes.
Producing. What was kind of the catalyst and motivation to do that, and what are the challenges to transition into that?
Being in the world of media, you have to wear a lot of hats. Right. I think the catalyst for me is understanding that I love to be in front of the camera. I mean, that's what I've done pretty much my entire life as a TV host and whatnot. But I just know that if you really want longevity in this industry, right. and if you want to tell stories, and if you want autonomy over a project, you need to be able to create yourself.
Okay.
Right. And I think overall, my last year with the WWE, I was their ring announcer, reporter for Raw, SmackDown, That was a very interesting season of my life. That experience really highlighted that I wanted to have the ultimate autonomy over my career. And I just knew that I needed to do that. And in order to do that, I needed to produce and be at the helm of a ship, right? Be a leader in all of my projects. So that was really the catalyst that I said, this is what I'm going to continue to do.
Is that what you see? You see a lot of actors, they'll be on screen acting,
Yeah.
and then at some point you don't realize, but they produce like 10 movies. You didn't even know that. Is that one of the reasons
I
you're
think
saying?
so. I think because as a creator, you want to have a voice. And when you're in front of the camera, you are just hired to be in front of the camera. And then it's usually you need to just read what's on paper. You don't have any feedback. If you don't like something, too bad. You're not hired to give your opinion. And just being in the industry for such a long time, I started dreaming bigger and I had stories to tell. So I decided to tell them.
I know you said you had a lot of autonomy in your roles, but do you ever feel like just kind of like a puppet? Like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm just
absolutely.
maybe this isn't me, but I'm just doing the job.
Of course.
Or
I think you need to know your role, right? I would never go on set and take ownership of a project that's not mine.
right.
I always came on set and just be grateful that I was grateful to have that opportunity to be in front of the camera. And you are a puppet, and that is okay because that is the industry. You know what I mean?
That's almost any career, any job. You're part of the team. You're fulfilling that role, and someone's in charge, kind of managing.
Exactly. And when you say you're a puppet, obviously has a negative connotation. You know, you just know when you are in front of the camera as a talent, you are just a talent.
Right.
You don't make creative decisions.
Right. That's a good way.
Yeah.
What's backstage or behind the scenes like? Because we don't. I feel like a lot of people, we don't know what's really going on back there because we just see it finished product. We're like, wow, these people were so smooth. Everything was so good.
You know,
Only two people put this together.
I would say it's chaos. A lot of people don't know how hard it is to produce a moment. Even what we're doing, it takes so much time, so much production, a lot of resources. Sometimes it's just a one-man band, or sometimes there's a huge budget and it feels like everybody's on fire.
With a big budget.
Yes, I've been a part of huge budgets and it feels like everybody's on fire. It's very high stress.
Right.
So I love showing the behind the scenes because you start to see how layered a behind the scenes experience is.
Right.
It's very challenging sometimes.
The first time I was on set, I was doing acting class, but I got to go on a set. I wasn't in the production, but I got to see. I was like, okay, there's a couple lighting guys, there's a few camera people, there's this clothes person, there's the makeup person, and it's very organized and structured, but there's so much going on, and like you're saying, the actors, the talent are so professional.
Yes,
they're just kind of like they don't really talk to each other when they're not supposed to. This is what the director wants. The director wants me to do this. Or let me honor the script. I think this is what the writer wanted the character to do. It was really cool, like developing the whole, understanding the story and being in acting class. And it's hard because everyone thinks, well, I could do what Leonardo DiCaprio does. But really, you would copy what Leo did, but you hadn't start with just a script. And you don't know who the character is, and you have to find out.
It's an art to all of it.
It's an art form.
It's easy until you have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, but I had a newfound respect for actors and producers because I was like, we have no idea what goes on to make all this happen.
Yeah, it's very complex behind the scenes.
So you go from live TV, being a host, to a producer behind the scenes, and you're still in front of the camera also. So what are some of the biggest challenges?
You know, I think at this juncture of my career, being a producer, I love producing. I think it's really dealing with personalities. You know, the last show that I produced was a show called Health Uncensored with Dr. Drew. I helped produce a lot of the segments, and I was one of the field reporters, and it's currently still airing nationally. Really amazing opportunity. Overall, I think in any job, but definitely when it comes to television, I told you it's very high stress.
Right.
So I think dealing with people is the most challenging thing because a lot of these people, their nervous system is not regulated.
Right. Especially being on camera to deal with people.
You know, the stakes are high. Everybody feels like they're on fire. And I think being a leader, when you're a producer or director, you need to be able to understand what your set looks like and be able to manage personalities and manage them gracefully and not lose it. So I think that is the most challenging thing.
Does well, just like in any business organization, is the director the leader of the set? Do they really set the tone for the environment? Does it matter how they are? And then that
I
kind of
think
dictates how everyone else is.
so. I think it just really depends on the hierarchy of a production, right? But before before the director gets there, the producer is the one who sets the tone for a lot
Okay.
and really sets the director up for success.
Give me a 30-second idea of what a producer does exactly.
Well, it really depends. A lot of time you have an executive producer
Okay.
and you have producer. Executive producer will be in charge of the budget, getting the funding for a project,
Okay.
right?
So they may never even show on set.
I mean, yeah, a lot of time people get executive producer credit because they were the ones who helped fund the film or the project.
Okay.
And then you have a producer, which is the roles that I get a lot of, where they're the ones who strategically help put everything together. So the timelines, they help hire the entire crew.
The quarterback.
Yeah, they're quarterbacking everything. And then a lot of the times when I produce something, I put it together and then I hire the director to be able to fulfill the creative vision. Right. So it really depends, because a lot of the times I can work in tandem with the director, but my goal is to be able to quarterback it or set it up for success, set the expectations, and then give this beautiful creative roadmap to the director so he can do and execute his creative vision on set.
So I was going to ask you, so the director has autonomy as well for creativity. Is he
100%.
tied to he's following the script, but the way it's expressed, it's really up to the director how he wants the actors to play things out.
So it really depends on every production, but for example, every director is very different, right? So let's just compare it to like wedding photography.
Yeah.
Not every wedding photographer shoots the same. I hire directors based on their style and knowing what type of shooting style they're good at, for example.
Will they also dictate like even lighting, the way the set's lit?
Yeah.
So that's going to set the whole mood. Like they want a different mood for different scenes.
Yeah, 100%. Like they will work directly with the director of photography to be able to light the scene because it's their creative vision. So for example, the Stanley Kubricks of the world, you have these very big directors. They are known for a certain look. They're known for a certain pacing of the film.
Right.
So it's because they have a creative vision to be able to execute that.
Ryan Murphy is one of my favorite.
Yeah.
He does. I can tell right away if it's a series.
Yeah.
He does a lot of like gold looking lighting. It's just it's very distinctive. You're right.
Exactly.
It's very like that's got to be Ryan
Yeah.
Murphy. The way it's lit, which is crazy. After being in the industry, you can kind of tell. And other people are like, what? What are you talking about? How can you?
Yeah, and I'm sure he's hired because he has that eye, right? So he works directly with, I'm sure his vendor, right? His team that know how to speak the Ryan Murphy language.
I saw on your Instagram, you recently did TED Talk.
I did.
Talking about the title, "You Are the Story." Are you allowed to share anything about that?
Of course. I'm honored. It was a part of my bucket list to do a TED Talk. I did a couple months ago, and I talked about you are the story in an AI world now more than ever. So I was just doubling down on why somebody's personal story is what's going to make the difference in the world of AI, right? AI can mimic everything, and we're seeing what's going on, but AI can't tell your story. So I was able to share my very personal story growing up, becoming Miami Dolphins cheerleader, and how I got into the world of media and sharing some anecdotes. But the reality is my story can't be replicated by AI and the emotional experience.
I think that's something, even myself, I'm kind of wondering, where is this headed? Because it is taking over a lot of things. For example, transcribing videos. My buddy, he's a copywriter. He's like, dude, you used to have to pay like $1,000 to have someone transcribe your video. And now you upload the video and in like 10 minutes, you have a full transcript basically for free. So it's shifting a lot do you see any areas that are in trouble or that careers that aren't going to be there, like certain facets or components of the career that you're already seeing AI swallow over?
100%. I mean, AI is here and it will take jobs, but the reality is, I think it's just a natural shift with how we are as a society. I think we do have to be 5 steps ahead of our jobs and how can we make ourselves irreplaceable. And I think with our story to be at the forefront is more important now more than ever to become a brand. But yeah, AI will take jobs, but that's why we have to learn it, perfect it, and teach people. I definitely have been all in on AI. I help companies with their AI architecture and really figuring out how to help their bottlenecks.
Right.
But even my industry, now we're seeing influencers that are influencers and on-camera talent being taken over by fake AI, like AI personas.
Yeah.
And even voiceovers. I used to get hired all the time to do voiceovers.
So
Now production, they don't really need to hire me, right?
they're not hiring anyone.
Yeah, they don't
AI
have
for
to.
voiceovers.
Yeah, but I'm still getting hired, right? But it's shifty. So for me, I always have to think, what do I have to do in order to make myself irreplaceable?
Right. And how do you stay ahead of the things? You're just paying attention, you're planning, you're talking through, you're learning.
100%. I try to learn as much as I can. I'm very good at prompt engineering, which is everybody should get very good at prompt engineering.
Okay. So that's like something one industry goes or one career leaves, but then there's a new like job from
Exactly.
It's a new need.
It definitely is a new, yeah.
Explain that a little bit for anyone that doesn't know exactly what it is.
Well, you need to be able to communicate with AI. Let's talk about ChatGPT and all these learning language models. We have Claude, we have ChatGPT and so forth. How do you speak to the AI for you to get the best output? So every company that's trying to integrate AI, they're going to need some type of communication with AI to be able to get the best output. So you being a part of a company needs to be able to understand the best way to prompt engineer your AI.
So if you just give
you can't
shitty input, it's going to get an output that's very broad, not specific, useless, basically.
Correct. Okay. So if somebody doesn't know how to prompt engineer it, of course you're going to be like, oh, this doesn't work. No, you need to know how to actually speak to it. So the more you know about prompt engineering, the better you're going to be in the world of AI.
You can see that because I watch videos I'll try to make something and I'll watch a video on TikTok and someone that says, no, this is how you prompt.
Yeah.
And their prompt is very detailed. It's very specific. They use certain terminology and then they'll get a photo or like a transcript that's just so much better than what I was able to get out. So there's even that. Two of the same people are using AI and someone
get very different,
more usefulness.
Yes. Get very different outputs and results.
Wow. It's just crazy where even in filmmaking and like you said, with content creation, have you heard of the concept of the dead internet?
Yeah. The dead internet theory. It's crazy because I actually did a mastermind for creating content and part of my 3 slides, we were talking about the dead internet theory.
Okay.
And I think it's very important to understand there are silos out there where you're going to be consuming content without a soul. You're going to be consuming all of this content that was created by AI. And it starts to feel and look like the same thing. So us as humans, we need to be very discerning as to what we're feeding ourselves and even if that's the type of content that we want. So I think content needs to still have a soul.
Remember when Elon Musk acquired Twitter, which is now X, he said, I want to say, it was like over half the accounts were just bot accounts.
Yeah.
And I think it was even more than that.
It's wild.
So you're just, who's liking your stuff? Who's actually, how do you discern between, is this every time someone follows me, I'm like, is this a real person?
A real person?
How many posts do they have? When they post recently?
Yeah. And
there's always.
I think you have to have an eye for it. I mean, I could tell something's AI 100. I mean, being in film, I think you have that lens. Like there's some people that are following AI influencers that have millions of followers and not even real people.
They don't know, or they don't.
No, there's some people that don't know.
There's some people, an older generation, I feel like.
No way. Yeah. And there was this whole soccer player was hitting on this AI fake influencer. Yeah, I'll send you the link. It was hysterical.
Yeah, no, he's just trying to get a date out of it, and then
that's what we're seeing. And I think that's what's scary. And I think as humans, we need to really work on that discernment muscle.
Right.
Because if you're out there falling in love with somebody that's not real.
The ultimate catfish.
Yeah, the ultimate catfish. Yeah. It's scary.
Or if you're a business, you think what you're doing, your marketing plan is working correctly, but you don't know, is this real engagement?
Yeah,
it's not converting sale.
I mean, sometimes it does, but I think for your marketing plan, I have very serious opinion about using the AI avatars for your marketing plan.
Right.
It just feels disingenuous. And if you want to save a buck, I think that's fine. I think there's a time and place for it.
Yeah.
But I think being transparent about if you are using an AI avatar, right? Like this, you can call it your AI mascot. Like obviously lean into the fact that you are using AI versus this is a customer pretending to like your product. That's what we're seeing a lot of. And I think that's where we need to be careful. And if you are a smart consumer, you will use your due diligence.
You'll know right away. You're like, wait a second. That's an AI.
Yeah. Right. So it's weird.
But inside the organization, it could be useful for training videos or
100%
HR stuff.
I was even thinking about creating like an educational series about artificial intelligence and train an AI model and call her Andy and say, I'm Andrea's avatar and let's learn together. You know, it's really using the transparency method, and it's not having me film an entire day of educational videos.
Or even script necessarily, because you use ChatGPT
to help you script. Yeah, to help me, to actually help the inspiration. Yeah, to sometimes really help my grammar. Yeah, because sometimes I chop a lot of words out, but I use it as a tool, but I don't use it as the end all be all of my content at all.
How do you said train your AI avatar? Is that like just putting in prompts, or you're the only one that feeds it information, so it's specific to you?
Yes, because you can create your own GPT on ChatGPT.
Right.
And you can train it to speak like you, to think like you. You can upload absolutely everything. I've done that with mine. I've uploaded everything I'm creating content based on that. So, I mean, it's been wild.
My buddy told me he actually feeds his version of ChatGPT articles that he likes.
100%.
I like this article, save it.
Yeah, save it, and that's what I do. Yeah.
So you can, if you know how to use it, you can use it as a virtual assistant, as like as an employee.
Absolutely. And for example, in the AI architecture that I help companies with, we do that. That's like step one to help create your virtual assistant. You can create your ChatGPT to be your assistant.
I don't think most people aren't using ChatGPT. It's like a fun kind of parody type thing.
And I don't
for the layperson.
I think so. But I don't want to say we're early, because we're not, because it's moving really, really fast. And if you haven't learned about anything, I think you should, just because you don't want your job to be on the chopping block. And I think it's the future.
Have you seen that movie with John Depp, Transcendent? It's like 15 years old.
No.
He uploads his consciousness into a computer and he dies.
Oh my God.
And then his fiance or wife.
Is it Johnny Depp?
It's Johnny Depp, yeah. And she basically can still communicate with him through the computer screen. It's an avatar of him speaking. And that's exactly what it feels like.
You know what? There's actually technology out there where you can train an AI. It's for deceased relatives.
They have that already?
Yeah, they do.
So I had that idea.
I had that idea, and it was interesting. I think it was like 2 years ago. I looked it up, and GPTs were being trained on deceased loved ones to help them with their grief, which I think is a good idea.
So let's just play this out. So let's say you still have family members that maybe they won't be around for a while. You could actually film some videos of them, get their real life avatar, and then over the next 6 months, just record a bunch of conversations with them, get their real voice, get how they think.
100%.
And when they leave, you can talk to them the rest of your life or text them.
Yep. That's here. I think there's a component where it would help the grief process. Of course, just like anything, just like there's a good, there's going to be a bad, right? And
we're always extreme with technology. We can't just use it for the good.
Humans, we take things to the extreme. But the people that are really anti-AI, I say AI needs to be in the hands of people that do good. Right. So the more people learn it with good hearts, good intentions, people that want to save the world, I think it's going to be that balance.
That's any technology, right? That's probably when the atom bomb came out and they first made that. It's like, okay, who's gonna have this? And if other people have it,
what are their intentions?
Do we need to stop them from having it, like with AI?
Yeah, so did you see the last Mission Impossible? You got to see it.
I haven't.
So good.
I stopped watching it right there. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
It's AI?
Yeah, it's the spin of AI. It's the same exact thing that we're talking about.
Really? With the governments and like...
Yeah, and like the AI takes over.
Yeah, and then who decides because morality stuff. But who decides what's right and wrong then, and whose politics govern and morality governs
Correct.
that? And at what point is there a point then? Is there such thing as what they call a singularity, where at some point we can't get rid of AI because it's smarter than us,
Yeah.
and then
That's
at
when it
that point,
becomes sentient. And
sentience
that
what it
is
is?
the sentient.
Okay.
So all your fears, yes,
Yeah.
can be here.
Or not though, right? Because is that based on how we train it, like, or about how it trains itself at some point? But then how does it know? This is crazy because how does it know what it wants to train itself? Is it based on what it previously learned and it's just stacking the knowledge, building, or can it make decisions?
It can make decisions.
It can make decisions.
And it'll be autonomous and it won't need a human.
But let's get crazy. We have robot cops, AI robot cops.
Yeah.
They have weapons. So they make a decision to fire or not to fire.
Exactly. But who's behind that decision?
So people were still prompting them then. Like, hey, if it's this type of demographic background, it's okay to fire. But if it's this type, don't fire.
Of course. Like the problem is what happens if and when it becomes sentient? The iRobot, with Will Smith. That's the ultimate predictor of what could happen.
So that's beyond being prompted. It's like,
of course, it's AI is here and it's gone rogue. You don't control it anymore.
And then maybe it doesn't need us either.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, I know how to charge myself. I know how to fix myself. I don't need humans.
100%. You have to watch Mission Impossible. That's literally what it's about.
But I'm thinking of animals right now. There's probably a lot of animals like that humans we don't need. But we enjoy animals.
Yeah, but we're the most destructive thing on this planet. So if AI wants to be able to cleanse the earth of the most destructive thing, what is it going to? Well, of course, it's not going to start with turtles.
They were just turtles are not very threatening.
What is it going to start with? It will start with us.
Going to get down so turtles can't get in from all our oil spills.
Yeah, it's really wild.
You did the FIU Lee Kaplan iStar Studio tour.
Yeah,
that place looks amazing. I don't know what it was. This is like a green screen.
It's a volumetric capture studio.
Okay, there. Yes. Volumetric capture studio. What do you use that for?
To make 3D, I don't want to call it renderings, but you can make, 3D renderings. You can create a superhero out of that. You can make, think of the metaverse, right? You can make an actual world and you do 3D scans of an object or a person. Right. And you can create universes based off of all the cameras. I forgot how many cameras are in that. It's like 20 something.
Oh, it looked like there's a ton of ton of mics, different lighting.
It's amazing.
Can you film a whole movie just in that?
Yes, I can.
Film a whole movie there.
You can completely film what you need as a 3D version of to be able to put in a 3D world.
Oh, so then they just use that footage somehow and put it on top of layer on top of the 3D world?
Yep.
This is wild.
Yeah, so metaverses can be built. 3D twins, twins of cities can be built. So, for example, if you want to create a twin of this room, for example, somebody in China can be able to experience this podcast if we were to do a 3D version of it.
And they would view it three-dimensional?
Yes.
Like they were guests sitting right there watching it, but then they're living room. So they have a projector, I guess.
I don't know how that would work. But yes, you can use virtual reality and VR.
This is crazy.
Yeah, so FIU, shout out to Florida International University. I partnered with them for my Web3 project, where our project was about a female heroine. She was a superhero, so I dressed up as a superhero. They did a 3D scan of me, and then they showed me fighting like a superhero based on that type of technology. It's pretty amazing.
Because this is all new technology. Like, did FIU have this exclusively? They created this on here.
So they created it. Is it new technology? No. Do a lot of people use it? No, because it's for specific types of projects where a lot of times you need to have very big budgets, right?
So is it bigger then? Because it looked like it was like a 15 by 15 cent.
Yeah, it's a pretty big room, But I mean, now I think that type of technology, I think people can start to do it on their phone eventually,
Just their phone?
I started seeing, obviously, it's like the Fisher-Price version. Right. But I think now these big technology studios now, there's a lot of people. Look at, VO3. Everything that we can do as a director, as a producer, everything that we can do at home, So it's just that technology's moving really fast and we'll work with television production.
A year from now, I'm going to have a bigger studio because I'm
Absolutely.
manifesting that.
Of course.
And then I'm going to interview in that. We're going to talk about this moment. And then I'm going to thank you again and say, here you are again, always having my electronic idea. You always pull forward.
Always. We have each other's back. Like I said, you have to in this industry.
It's tough.
It's just tough out in these streets.
People are always like thinking, which they should be, what am I going to get out of this though?
Yeah.
What am I going to get out of this? And
well, I think it's interesting because like I love any opportunity that I can get content, like the opportunity doesn't matter how big or how small. And for me, cultivating our friendship and our relationships and being there for each other in moments that, I think it's really important.
Yeah.
And I still get remembered and I remember people that show up for me. And that's how I've been able to build community. That's the reason this industry has been really kind to me. You have to be in people's corner. And that's how you build community.
Absolutely. Community is important. In business, you're going to know the 3 Ps in business.
What is it?
People, process, product.
I love that.
So any business you're in, service-based or product-based, you can apply those 3 Ps. You have 100%. People, so the people that are working for you, the people that you're working with, you have the process that you go through to sell the product or market the product or the user experience. And then you have the product or service itself. If you just focus on those 3 Ps, no matter what you're doing, even in personal life, you can apply that.
But how many people do that?
No way.
That's what's wild. My fiance and I, we have this saying, if the only thing that you do, if you say what you were going to do, right? If you do what you're going to say, what is it? I'm
going to deliver this product and then I deliver.
If you can deliver what you just said, you're going to win every single time. And him and I, we do a lot of events and we do a lot of big projects. Our goal is to just deliver on what we said we're going to deliver. That is the winning formula for us. And it's been amazing. There's so many things that people say they're going to do and they do not deliver. It's wild.
Yeah. When I first started photography about 15 years ago, I was at the mall and there was a fashion show and there was the photographer taking the photos for the runway show. So after I go up to him, I'm like, I want to talk to this guy. He's an older gentleman. He obviously knew what he was doing. He got the gig and everything. It's like, what's a piece of advice you can give me? I want to do what you're doing next someday, have these really big gigs. And he told me, he's like, I'll just show up on time.
Just show up.
I was like, no, I mean and he was like, no, just show up on time. And what he was saying is what you're saying.
Yes.
If you say you're going to be there and you say you're going to do something, if that's all you do, you're doing better than everyone.
Which is crazy. And I think that's literally what it is. You need to just show up on time and deliver your product the way somebody was expecting you to deliver.
Under promise, overachieve.
Yes.
So they get a little bit extra and they're like, wow.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah.
You did a national TV commercial for liquid oxygen?
Yes.
What's it? Talk about working on the national set, or is it the same thing? Or
this opportunity was very interesting. I was the producer of this commercial. It was a little bit complex because I was working with a lot of actors and a lot of minors because it was an acting product. It was an acting product where mothers and children were hired to tell micro stories. So we created 6 micro commercials to be able to tell the story of kids with acne, right? So the whole point was to be able to creatively tell their story and obviously the struggles of an adolescent breaking out. We've all been there. It's tragic when you're just like, oh, exactly. I do too, right? So it was interesting. It was a lot of fun being able to create these micro stories and how this product, liquid oxygen, is the actual hero, right? So it was a lot of fun. There were a lot of moving pieces. Like they said, dealing with personalities is challenging.
Right.
And then you're dealing with actors and then you're dealing with minors. It was a lot of fun. It was very rewarding. And I couldn't have done it without my director, Andrea Ocampo. But that was amazing. But every project that you're a part of, you learn a lot. Right. I should have done this better. But the stories are super amazing. And I was really lucky that I was hired to.
How different is having kids on set? Does that change?
Yes.
Do you have attorneys there? Because what are the kids saying?
Not necessarily attorneys, but there's a lot of waivers that have to be signed.
Right.
And usually they're represented by an agency. So for the most part, you get kids that are in the industry. They know what it is, but it has to be handled with white gloves because you're dealing with kids and their emotions and all the layers.
I always felt bad on one hand, felt bad for like child actors, actresses.
Well, we've seen what can happen when it's not.
Culkin is like,
yeah, a perfect story.
Well, not so perfect story,
but perfect example. And now we hear the downfall of child actors, and it's really sad. But it has to be handled delicately.
And it makes sense though, because as adult actors they go through like all these problems and issues just as grown-ups.
Exactly.
So then kids don't even know what's going on, plus all the money, plus their parents stealing the money from them. It's crazy.
It's a layered, unfortunate situation when it goes south.
What was the biggest thing you learned working on the national TV set? Was there anything you're like, wow, I didn't know that, or that was like a little tidbit there?
Well, there's always something that you're learning, right? I think boundaries is huge. Boundaries is very huge when you're dealing with clients. You give the hand and people take the arm. I think as a creative, and I think working with clients, and when you're in an agency setting, you really want to appease the client. And I think your job as a producer, you need to protect your crew. You need to protect everyone. So it's really challenging striking a balance between clients' wants and protecting your crew and what was in the contract. So those are things that it always happens in general. But I think the older I get and the more projects that I'm a part of, it's my duty to protect the crew.
My inclination is the client will be there while you're filming, and then on the spot they'll ask for like revisions or changes. Like, yeah, can we say this differently?
Yeah, and a lot of the times as a client, it's just educating them on the process, right? But there's some clients that are hard to appease, so sometimes you're stuck between, a rock and a hard place, and it's just that's the most challenging thing when you're dealing with very big budgets and clients and what they want versus what can be done on the spot.
I want another take. Say it again.
Exactly. And sometimes you're running on a clock. So there's a lot of little nuances that I think as a producer, you start to learn how to handle well, with grace, and under pressure.
Yeah. You handle a lot of roles and you juggle a lot of things. You're wearing a lot of hats. I stay motivated when bouncing around, and I mean, it's all one umbrella, but there's so much going on. Like, how do you do it?
It's hard to stay motivated sometimes. I think motivation is a roller coaster. A lot of times people think that you have to feel inspired to do a job. I think the hardest thing is understanding that it's a discipline versus creativity, right? And the older you get, a lot of the times, you're not going to have the motivation, but it's hard. I think you have to really take care of your mind, your body and soul to be able to be in a place of creativity and understand how to regulate your nervous system more than ever.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to regulate your nervous system, and a lot of adults do not know how to handle their emotions, I think that's the biggest problem with your creativity, right? If you're able to regulate your nervous system, if you're able to have boundaries in your life, you're going to be able to have the space to be creative. But a lot of times you're go, and then a job that started to be creative, you end up hating it. So you need to take care of yourself.
That reminds me, talking about the nerves, is when I was doing acting classes, standing up in front of, there's only like 20 people, and you're reading the lines, and then at some point you have to memorize. But if you're nervous, you're very robotic. You're not playing the character. You're not like
you're in your mind.
You're in your mind. There's no reflection in your voice. It's just very monotone, and then you're in your mind. You can't be creative at all. It really kills creativity. You can't get past that initial like, this is scary.
It is scary, and I love working with creatives to help them break out of that. And now more than ever, I work with the nervous system, and I work with meditations to get yourself in a state of creativity. Because there's a lot of times where if you want to grow your brand, or even with my business where I get hired to grow brands and help people show up on camera, if their nervous system is not regulated, if they do not know how to show up on camera and they're afraid to be seen, but they need to be able to launch, they need to learn and understand where that comes from.
So you're working with people these aren't actors, these are business owners.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're like, all of a sudden there's lights and cameras and 5 people, and they're talking weird, or they're like, I don't know what to say. I can't remember lines.
Of course, or they want to launch their TED Talk, and I'm helping them with their TED Talk, and so it's really hard to get to a place of creativity and execution when you're in your mind. So I've been really inclined to help people understand their nervous system, even myself. Even as I grow as a creative and a producer, I've realized my personal emotional mental blocks to be able to gain the success and show up at as my highest version.
Okay.
And it's all about the nervous system regulation.
What are some of the tips or tricks?
Oh my goodness.
Breathing exercise?
Yeah, I'm really understanding your breathing exercises,
Okay.
right? Understanding if you have meditation technique. Understanding your body, where the tightness comes from, is your chest, your throat, and really understanding where that comes from. A lot of times it comes from childhood. So it's a lot of.
See, this is deep.
It is. It is. And it's wild because the older I get, the more I understand that showing up and wanting to be seen and having those blocks, a lot of it comes from our fears and our past experiences. Yeah, so this is spiritual.
I'm saying there's like a self-awareness that you have to develop in order to be a good talent and just be authentically you and start creating.
Because at the end of the day, we want to show up as our highest self. But what does that mean? We do a lot of self-sabotaging, and understanding where those self-sabotages really goes into your past traumas. And it really starts getting so layered that you realize the creation process is a spiritual process.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep. That
is deep. Yeah, it really is. And I think the older you get and you start to really figure out your compass on what drives you and how to show up as your most authentic self, I think that's scary, but you really have to do the work in order to show up.
Yourself now compared to 15, 20 years ago when you started, do you just feel like you just shed so many layers, so to speak, and then developed and built up? Like, are you at a point where you feel like you're on your path, you're on your vision, and you're clean and clear kind of thing?
No, I love that question because it brings me here to, I've understood that I've been able to shed a lot of who I was and break through a lot of my fears. But I think to be able to show up as my most authentic self, it's terrifying. And it's really unmasking an old identity that I had with media, because now to show up as my most authentic self is having very honest conversations. It's without the lashes, without the script, right? Without the filter, without having to be so overly produced. I think media now, the shift is being raw and real. And for me, it's been scary and challenging to talk about, have spiritual conversations, right? To really show up as somebody with a sad story.
Yeah.
I think unmasking the old to be able to embrace the new where I am now has been challenging. And it's exciting, but I've been regulating my nervous system to show up as my most authentic self.
On camera and off camera.
Yeah.
Because you have these conversations with yourself.
Of course. And remember, like my whole career, and it's interesting because let's say the TikTok crowd, the new generation, they don't know if they were brought up just being who they are in camera. I was brainwashed, or, back in the day, everything you had to look perfect as a Miami Dolphins cheerleader, having a role, showing up perfect, having lines. So to be able to unmask and feeling safe and knowing that this is okay to be your authentic self, that was not a part of the success formula.
But now that's changed.
That's
there's freedom to this, right?
There's a lot of freedom. Yeah, there's a lot of freedom to it. But I think if your identity has been wrapped up in perfection and showing up as a certain type of person, I think there's a lot of work that you have to go through in order to, hey, this is me in all my glory.
I can see how it's a spiritual process.
It is a spiritual process.
Personal process.
It's an identity. It's a lot of identity work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And most people, myself included, up until like a few years ago, just don't have self-awareness. They're not aware of.
Oh, I think a lot of us. I think the self-awareness is a muscle, and it's when you have self-awareness, it's because you've gone through a lot of things to make you self-aware, and those things probably weren't fuzzy.
With the process that I was going through is I just was kind of programmed. Like we're all programmed. Pre-programming. Then I discovered to my wife helped me out a lot to have self-awareness.
Yes.
And then when I had self-awareness, then I was like, okay. Then I had to have a willingness. Do I want to change? What do I need to change? And or am I just want to stay the same? And then the third thing for myself was, okay, I want to change. There's a willingness. Do I have the tools necessary? Or where can I get the tools to figure out how to change. And this is going to help me in my career, in business and media.
But you see that as a spiritual
evolution.
process.
It is. It's a spiritual internal thing that you go through. But ultimately, I see this for the better. Adding value better to myself, my family, my community, people around me by being the highest version of myself, the best version.
And I think media is going through that shedding.
Yeah.
I think media and what we're consuming and what's out there, I think it is going through that shedding, and we're having these conversations that before were taboo, right? Nobody wanted to see who they really were, right? Because it wasn't part of the script.
Speaking of spirituality, do you believe in God?
I do believe in God.
You do?
The center of my universe.
Nice. What about, are you a Christian?
Yes.
Okay.
So I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, where are you from?
Colombia.
Colombia. Okay. Yeah. So that's the Hispanic.
Yeah.
But then you're a Christian. So Christ is your savior.
Christ is my savior. I believe in God, but not so textbook, right? I'm very abstract in my belief system. Well, I believe in angels, I think crystals are okay. I'm not like,
not traditional.
Not too traditional,
That's good, probably more the Catholicism, like traditional,
exactly.
You say this prayer, just like this.
Or, it's just, for me, it's very more abstract than anything. I call it spirituality.
Right.
Some people call it woo. For me, there's no judgment onto like what people believe. I've been a part of community that were overly toxic in the religious aspect, and I saw how damaging that could be. So I'm very free in my belief system.
Even Christ wasn't a fan of religion and politics.
Yeah, and it's just crazy what it's been morphed into. So I'm just very careful on how I make people feel regarding my value system and what I believe in, because I went through a very personal experience that it was very toxic.
Recently?
A couple years ago. Yeah, so I see how that could be damaging.
Just personal experience, or just
religious personal experience.
Okay. Something that could have turned you off from
100%. It
the idea of God.
That's definitely
everything.
Not necessarily. I would never not believe in God or my belief system. I did start to shy away from the church because of the situation was so crazy. That's a topic for another podcast episode.
But that definitely.
But that definitely was a part of my journey in my religion and where I am now and everything.
And then we're bringing that back then. So that helped with your self-awareness.
Oh, 100%.
Tie into business and media. Because now you can be authentic, because you were authentic with yourself first. You're like, this 100%. Is who I am, and this is what I'm going to give the world.
Exactly.
And some people will like it.
And some people won't. And it's okay.
That's
it's
fine.
okay. I think it's important, not necessarily to be polarizing, but to understand that if you try to be for everyone, you're going to be for no one. And then it's a disservice to yourself.
I like that.
Yeah, it's the truth, because you're like, I talk to everybody, and I'm helping people with their branding or whatnot.
I have a lot of friends.
Yeah,
so
like, no,
you have no friends.
You have no friends if you say that.
What is there anything like exciting you're currently working on right now?
I'm always working on a million things, and that's where I like to be. I mean, right now I'm really focused on my agency, Purple Crayon. I have an amazing business partner, Jeff McClelland. We have an agency in New York, so I go back and forth from Florida to New York. So I love being a part of this agency model because the culture is incredible. It's very forward thinking. Yeah, we're an agency, but we're very out of the box, and we're working on amazing new projects. Definitely going into the world of AI. That gets me really excited. Doing a lot of panels about artificial intelligence here in South Florida. And overall, I've been working on my community building with the women. I'm launching a community called The Aligned Women, and I'm helping them with showing up on camera, being their most authentic selves. And it's really taps into the spiritual side and the media side. I think right now being able to combine both, and the neuroscience side, which is crazy, spiritual, neuroscience, and media, I think that's where the future of Andrea is headed.
You're like honing in, like start broad, and then
I think more it's a personal project that I have, and for me, community building is the most important thing. And as a woman, I think it's really important to have a community to be able to go to grow with, and to get advice from. And that's where I'm right now in my personal life and merging my media.
Now, with the projects with the women, are these business women or women that want to do what you're doing or aspire to do what you're doing?
It's a combination. It's a combination of women that are very successful, and they have reached not necessarily a plateau, but they want more out of life. but they need to work on the media in order to really amplify their message. So we really hone in on their blocks, right? Their emotional blocks, their mental blocks, their financial blocks. And I'm collaborating with amazing coaches in order to do that.
That's what your agency does.
No, that's a different thing. Like I have my agency where I work with amazing clients, and then this is a personal project that I'm doing here in South Florida.
Love that. It's always busy.
I think for me, I've always liked to be 5 steps ahead of projects, technology. I always like to really challenge myself to see like what's next.
So that's got to be like your most rewarding project, this project.
You know what? It is right now because it's really personal. It's really personal because I'm having those very raw conversations, right? Like I have to be very honest with my story, my experiences, and just put it out there. And I think doing that is scary. At least for me, it's been scary because there's no mask, right? Before, this is the role, right? We were talking about, this is what was on script. This is very vulnerable and authentic. And in order to build community at this level, you need to be very, very authentic. And at least you have to put it all out there.
So you've had all these roles in front of the camera, off the camera, and there's got to be some like moments that were just like crazy moments or like funny, hilarious behind the scenes moments.
You know, I've had the most wild career, to tell you the truth. I mean, my normal or just people's dreams or weird scenarios. I would say the craziest in general was working with the WWE. Working with that organization was wild. There was a lot of moments where I was like, this is not real life.
I just saw that Egg McMahon documentary.
Oh, I did too. Wild. It was very well produced.
Yeah.
But wild. That's all I could
Come on. What was
I mean, luckily for me, I didn't really interact too much with him. I don't think he liked me. That's why my contract didn't get renewed.
So did you get to meet him?
Of course, yeah, I got to meet him several times. He was a very intimidating man.
It seemed like that.
He's very intimidating, at least for me. And you know what? I think everybody in the organization was very intimidated by him. It wasn't, in my opinion, a very healthy work environment, just because it was very high pressure. I think obviously you can see from the documentary, it was very intense, and that energy everybody felt. As you can see, I just felt like everybody was terrified of him.
Yeah.
And when I met him, I felt terrified of him. So it was a very weird environment. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, to tell you the truth. I was like, how in the world? But I had a lot of cool experiences. I had a meeting where the Undertaker was right next to me, the regular guy. But you know what I mean? It was one of those things where I was like, this is cool.
Here you're like looking up at the
I was like,
what?
It was just a meeting about what was expected that weekend. And I just realized that it was a very cool experience. And just being ringside was crazy because it was a world like no other. It was a circus.
And it's scripted to a degree.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I would say and consider wrestlers one of the most talented athletes ever, hands down. Even between, the football players, basketball players, but I mean, like wrestlers, they work 24/7 all year round.
Right.
It doesn't matter. There's no days off for those guys.
And the injuries must
and I mean,
they're just always performing.
They're always performing hurt. And just being ringside and seeing that, I just have so much respect for the wrestlers because what they do to their body 24/7 is like no other.
They love what they just love it.
Yeah, they love what they
to go through that grueling, and then they're hitting the gym when they like beat up the next night, and then they're traveling around. How many they could do several hundred shows a year, but they're just constantly traveling.
There's always a show, no matter what. I mean, obviously there's the different factions, like the Raw, SmackDown, NXT. So that experience in general was just crazy because my background didn't prepare me for such a wild ride.
How old were you then when you did?
Oh my gosh, it wasn't that long. It was like 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my last. It was funny because looking at my sports career, my sports reporter career, that was my last stint on camera in the world of sports. After that, I was like, I am done here.
That's a nice way to go out.
Yeah. After that, I did motorsports, but to tell the truth, that was the catalyst where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. That's where I wanted to like grab my autonomy and be like, I'm going to have control over everything and anything.
Nothing about motorsports, just the What made you make that shift was like you realize, okay,
Yeah,
the sport is the same kind of.
Yeah, the WWE was the catalyst for me to be like, I don't want to be in this type of environment again.
Yeah. That's like a rock, sex, drugs, and rock and roll type of fun.
Yeah.
It's like the documentary.
Yeah, it kind of felt like it. You know what I mean? I mean, I wasn't a part of anything crazy or nefarious or because I was very like in my box.
Yeah.
But you can feel the chaos.
You could easily get too close with the wrong person and then just get sucked into that.
Well, I know everybody was trying their best, but I think everybody's just on survival mode.
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest way to describe it. A cool experience, but everybody's on survival mode. So how productive can that be?
But that's not really operating in a
celebration.
Yeah.
It was so hard for me that I developed stage fright. Stage fright. Yes, I got caught on live TV, like losing my script. That's hence why Vince McMahon probably didn't like me, why my contract didn't get renewed. But that's why I am so in love with understanding the body from a neuroscience and nervous system perspective. That's why I talk about it all the time, because I didn't know it at the time, but I didn't know that I was in fight or flight working for that company. And when you work in fight or flight, your body is literally fighting for its life, right? You can't produce or you can't create at the highest level.
Right.
You become miserable. You start making stupid choices. And I think that's why right now I'm in love with the creation process, but understanding where the nervous system comes from.
And now when you're in fight or flight, because at the time you didn't know how to regulate the nervous system.
I didn't know how to regulate.
But was it also an environmental thing? Like
it was
bad to work for?
So number one, I didn't know how to regulate my nervous system because I was very lucky. I was always in environments. Remember, I came from the Florida Panthers that they were like, come here, little baby. And I'm like,
friendly, yeah.
Exactly. Family friendly. They worked with me. Going to that, I felt like being fed to the wolves, to tell you the truth.
What is it about like these big brands that are like fantastic billion-dollar brands that have like a madman behind them? You hear the same things about Steve Jobs with Apple. You hear the same thing. Jeff Bezos with Amazon. Like,
what do we all have in common with that? They're all men behind the wheel.
Is that what it is?
I think so. I mean, I just think, I think that's the male way of doing business. It's an alpha, go, 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 more, more, more. And it's not like not a man bashing thing. No, men do business differently than women.
Is that required though to be successful?
I don't think so. Absolutely not. I think when you understand, even a man could be in his masculine and be an amazing leader, right? But you find that few and far between. I think when you don't rule from that energy, you're tapping into something greater. You make great leaders, right? You make the life cycle of your business can grow.
Right.
People are operating from a place of joy and creativity and wanting to give more versus how can you be creative when you're operating from a place of fear? That's not sustainable.
That's not. And it leads to those type of
destruction. And then you need to start to use drugs. Then you need to start to a coping mechanism. And when I say drugs, a sleeping medication, just like unhealthy things to cope. Yeah, but like that's what I said. Like I'm very passionate about those types of conversations because now being on the other side of it, having enough information, right, to just look at it, this worked, this didn't work, and now being very vulnerable to say like that's not sustainable and it doesn't really bring joy when you're in those environments.
So all those experiences sound like brought you to this point where you're like,
on the other side,
I discovered this, and now you have this product that you discovered. It's like I want to get this value out now.
Yeah, from a place of leadership, I just want to like scream from the mountaintops and help people just be amazing leaders in their space because I know that creation doesn't have to come from chaos.
Have you read any Kendra Hall's stories that stick?
No.
May got me that book is sitting right there.
Oh, really?
I just read it this week.
Oh.
She's a famous storyteller. I thought of you when I was reading. I was like, Andrea needs to read it.
I would love.
You need to read that.
Yes, please.
She's really good though. She goes over she talked about this 3 acts basically in a story. You have the normal, then you have the explosion of chaos that happens, and then the new normal, and that's the basis. And then there's 4 components that she talks about for storytelling. It's really good though. I mean, this is great because she goes over, like for example, for businesses, she'll talk about businesses need to have a founder story.
100%. That's literally what I do with my brands, and I help them with their founder story. And it's hard because sometimes as a founder, you don't think you need to be front facing. You don't have to be front facing for everything. And it may not work for some businesses, but people now really are buying from people and their story.
Now so you did the national commercial, but you also help it with any type of commercial. Someone has a product, let's say a razor or something. Say, okay, this is how we're going to storyboard this commercial.
I love that. I love doing all of that. That's what we do with our media agency.
That's fun. So Kendra talks about in her book, a lot of people make the same mistake of like, let's go to the razor example. We use the best steel and it shaves the best. When they talk about what it's doing, she says, no, don't talk about what the product does, what it does for you. Instead, talk about the day you left for work and you had a great meeting and you just felt so shaved, and like the experience that you had by using the emotion. Yeah. So that you work on those things and like create the emotion and the story behind it.
Exactly. And I reverse engineer the outcome.
That's amazing because it sticks so much more with
it's sticky.
Someone can resonate with it. They can be like, wow, that could be me, or that was me.
Hear about the steel. You want to hear about, your 9-to-5 job and the moment that you need to show up for that meeting, and then the razor, or like you're going on a date and you realize you have prickly legs, and how does that make you? It doesn't make you feel sexy.
Right.
But this
this whole story about,
of course, about what goes on in our mind as a funny little human.
I always think of Liquid Death, the water company in a can. Last time I checked, it was valued at $3 or $4 billion.
It's so wild because, and I've heard words mean things. I won't buy, but I wouldn't buy Liquid Death.
Oh?
No, because words mean things. Why do I want to buy something that's that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm very intentional with those little things.
But the idea of the story that they have, they don't talk about the water at all.
No.
They don't say
they talk about the story.
Yeah, every water company's like, what does a water company do to sell? This is from the best
from the mountains,
it's the same thing.
Anti-aging.
Yeah. And this guy's like, no, here's a cool lifestyle water. Maybe you don't want to have a beer, but you're out. Get this. The can is cool.
Yeah.
It's metal. It's good for the environment. It stays colder. It's like a movement. I'm like, wow, that is like textbook brilliant.
Well, of course, kind of like Red Bull. They're not like the brand that it became, but it's an energy drink. Right? It'll give you wings.
Yeah. But when
we associate it with this adrenaline junkie brand
style.
Exactly.
Or when I remember in college, they would pass out Red Bull for free, and they still do this now. They'd be on the college campus, but I realized
girls with the little backpack.
Yeah, and the tiny little it was a Mini Cooper.
I remember.
But they would say, "Here, it'll help you concentrate," and they said that to every single student. Here, it'll help you concentrate.
Yeah, it's one of the best brands, in my opinion.
Great marketing. It's the only brand that I could think of that they charged a premium at the time. They were charging way more for Red Bull than any other energy drink. But then they would simultaneously give it away for free. And it didn't lose its value perception. How do you see the landscape and media and everything evolving as we move forward with, we touched on AI already.
So obviously AI being at the forefront of media, I think AI is going to have a huge impact on how we create media, budgets. I think TikTok and real-time selling is going to be huge. I think that's going to be the future of media. And I think it's interesting because I've always said it. And I just think, the influencer took the job of a lot of TV hosts, a lot of anchors.
Yeah.
And so I honestly think what it was to be an actor, what it was to be a TV host. I lived in the era where TV hosting was a big deal. And now we started to lose it. We started to lose the market share to influencers. So it's very interesting. I think that is going to continue to happen. I think the fact that you went to school for journalism, it does not matter. I think it's going to go to the influencers that have a following, and you start seeing that with a lot of castings, and it's just very interesting to see the power of an influencer. I also think there is a shift happening. There is a difference between an influencer and a leader, right? So if you are out there representing a brand as an influencer, it's very different as a TEDx speaker. Right. So I think if you want to start to differentiate yourself in that avenue, I think you really need to start to create thought leadership content versus swipe up, this is the brand that I represent. And I help a lot of leaders try to make that differentiation, just because not that influencer is a dirty word. It's an amazing, sometimes you don't want to be classified as an influencer if you are trying to become a TEDx speaker, or there is a hybrid of both. So I think when I work with brands, and people that want to become authority, we really try to hone in on what that looks like. Or if I am working on an influencer, what does the longevity of that influencer's career look like, right? What is the graduation from an influencer? It's a leader. And we need to really figure out what that jump looks like.
What it is.
Yeah. What are they going to be leading? What are they going to be teaching, right? Before they got famous because of their following and the bikinis that they're selling, for example. Now they want to evolve, but what does that evolution look like? Are you becoming an educator or are you still an influencer?
There's so much behind the personal brand.
Yeah.
Because you can get lost. Like when you first got here, it's like, oh, what are your plans for the podcast? And it's like, well, there's 100 different avenues, and it's like
your head spin.
Makes your head spin. So my motto was like, there's a couple things. One is, if I don't start now, I never will.
Yeah.
So just start. Just hit record.
Yeah, it's very important to do that and not get lost in the weeds.
Right.
I haven't launched my podcast because of that, because there's so many things, right? But before launching my podcast, which I will be talking about.
I don't have time to do that.
I know things. I mean, my goal is to launch a podcast, but my goal is to be able to have my funnel in the back end ready to go. Just because I've gotten lost in a situation where I created huge productions, never saw the light of day because there wasn't a back end ready to go.
It's like back end, the reality, the business side.
Yeah, the business side, the call to action. How are we making money? We got the marketing plan out because that's my zone of genius. But my zone of genius are not systems. That's why I hired the best to make that happen. But the business side, a lot of the times we can create, but if we don't land the plane on the back end, we wasted time and resources and nothing came of it. And I'm only speaking from experience because I've created documentaries that never saw the light of day. I created content that never saw the light of day because I just created. So now on the other side of it, I'm very intentional with my time. If we are going to do this podcast or if we are going to create this project, what is the ROI? What is the back end?
Okay. So these are questions I need to also be asking myself.
Well, it depends on your personality because people can get caught in creation loops.
All right.
I can get caught in creation loops, and I even want to create a series that I make fun of myself, more of like a parody. I get caught in creation loops.
Which is, in a way, you're being your authentic self as far as creating, but also we live in the real world.
And you need to pay bills, right? And if you want to become a creator or producer, if you get caught in the creator mode and people are not going to want to work with you if you don't produce an actual business out of it.
So you got to run it like a business as well.
100%.
So that's a good tip then to give the viewers. Okay, you're running a business.
You're right.
Brand is a business.
If you can figure out how to make that a business from the very beginning, it's going to be important because your creator loop can take you. You can get caught in your creative loop for years,
right?
And you not make a single dime, and that's fine, but it's not self-sustaining. Right. So what is your end goal? And it doesn't constitute you being a business person. You're a creator.
Right. If it's a hobby or something you like to do after hours, that's what you're doing. But like, I could really do this and this. That's it. Mm-hmm. And then the beauty of all this media and creating as a business is the sky's the limit. It seems like it's so scalable. I mean, you can really, people are making a killing doing this
because they were able to figure out their systems, right, the back end, and know how to monetize. Right? If you don't do that, you can spend thousands of dollars. I've already made that mistake. Now I'm on the other side. I'm like, I'm not going to repeat that. Right? You can spend thousands of dollars without monetizing because you didn't have a plan. You didn't have a back end. You don't have the business side. Right. So I would give that advice to really try to figure out.
Now, is this what the agency does?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like,
take on personal brands,
take on personal, 100%. I mean, if you're hiring an agency, you have the budget. You have the business model, right? We specialize in taking things to market. That's really important. So I think being on the other side from the corporate side and just understanding big budgets, I see what has been done and not done with companies. So it's exciting.
How much, I would imagine all the experience that you've had being in the mud, in the nitty gritty.
I've been in the trenches long enough to understand and look at a project and look at something and just identify the bottlenecks and what's needed to be done. to create a viable business out of it.
I would imagine someone could come to your client and you could see right away.
100%.
Like, oh, I already see what you're doing wrong. I've seen this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
You tweak this, you're golden. You're good.
Yes, and it's easy to see people clearly. Me, on the other hand, I don't see myself clearly because remember, we all live in our head.
Right.
We have 35 tabs open happening all the time. I have to hire teams in order to see my blind spots.
Right.
I personally don't see my blind spots, but I see other people's blind spots.
See, and that comes in back to the self-aware, not dropping the ego, being self-aware and saying, I need help.
Yeah.
I need help. Yeah, like, oh, I can do everything or I know what's best.
Yeah, I think the sooner you're able to drop your ego and understand when you need help, you're going to be able to scale faster and become more successful.
What's the best advice you can give someone for storytelling?
I think to be able to really understand what your story is, we all have a story. Nobody's boring. I think to really understand what your story is, if you want to launch a brand or anything like that, I think the faster you understand what your story is, the faster you're going to be able to connect with people. And a lot of the times, a lot of founders, they have a lot of blocks. They don't want to be seen by everyone. It's hard to be seen by the world. And I'm going to go back to it, understanding how to regulate your nervous system. Because the faster you understand how to calm your mind, body, and soul while putting your story out there, the faster you're going to be able to achieve success.
Now, these are any founders. What if the founder is like, I don't want to be the face of the company?
No problem. There's a lot of workarounds. There's times where founders don't want to be front and center. Let's get you as spokesperson, right? And not every product needs a founder story or a spokesperson, but what is the human element behind your product? And are we going to even humanize your employees, right? So I think you really need to make a distinction of how you want to go about
I like that. It's not just the product or the service. There's people behind this.
Of course, just remember now, there's so much white noise, right? I buy from people and that's not necessarily the product. If I love the person, I'm like, oh, I'm ready to buy whatever they say.
That's true.
Yeah.
You didn't need the product.
You love the person.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like they're selling a lifestyle.
It is. And I think now more than ever, obviously everything is so visual now with social media. They are selling the transformation. What is a transformation? It's the lifestyle. Right.
Right.
So there's always like a product behind that lifestyle. I'll buy it.
But there's also, I noticed a slippery slope with, you have a lot of these gurus that are selling a lifestyle, but they're not actually implementing the thing that they say they did to get wealthy.
Of course, and I think that's where the discernment comes in.
That's all these business scams. I made all this money trading by this course, and you can learn how to trade Forex.
Yeah.
Or something like that also. And
they're the ones who rented the jet, the Airbnb.
Rented the Bugatti. And now, so they made all this money, and they are multi-millionaires now, but they didn't do it from the thing that they training you on how to do it. I'm just like, it's just recycled, because I remember watching infomercials about this same thing.
And I think it falls on you. You need to be able to be intelligent. Yeah, as a consumer, it's not their fault that they scammed you. It's your fault that you got scammed.
So it's a learning curve definitely for consumers also.
100%.
You mentioned TikTok. TikTok's blowing up with I think that took over Google for search now. People are going on TikTok.
Of course, me too. Sometimes when I go on TikTok, I go to TikTok first as a search engine, which is wild, right?
For any restaurants,
for anything.
Shoes,
so if you're not on TikTok, get on TikTok. I love TikTok. I don't have a big following on TikTok. I help people with their brand. It's just very challenging to help other people with their brand while building my own. I'm still doing it, but you need to show up. You need to be consistent. I'm trying to post 3 times a day. So it is very challenging.
Like exhausting or time to just wait.
Time, exhaustion, and even getting over the perfection. I'm used to everything being manicured, but sometimes now I'm in my car and my roller's just talking to TikTok friends. Like, hey guys, and
Gary B.
Yeah.
Just says just doc.
And I'm doing that. And I put myself in rollers, talking to the camera, just go.
The CEO of Instagram recently came out. He was just like, just post more. You don't get penalized for posting. There was this one Indian media company. They've got like 30 million on following on Instagram. So I tell the story at all so fast. They posted 100 times a day. 100 times a day.
What do they have? They had a mechanism behind the scenes. They had.
Yeah, I mean,
they had a mechanism.
There's a mechanism. There's a lot of
meaning like. Yeah, they could only, that's not.
But the idea of like, you can't post enough before you could, it was kind of like, oh, I want to get blocked or I'll look like spam. But now if the CEO's going out and says, no, it's a smart thing. Use Instagram. So post more on Instagram.
Of course,
as much
because
as you post.
everybody's vying for your time.
Yeah. It means companies.
But I love TikTok. You have to stay on the right side of TikTok because it could be toxic and weird, you know? So I try to stay on the positive side of TikTok.
Push for search.
TikTok, I love TikTok Shop. But, you know, the content that I consume is very positive.
It's easier to fall on the bad stuff on Instagram.
100%. Well, I think everything, right? And a lot of the times, sometimes, you know, you get caught doom scrolling. I try to not be in that energy. I'm like, Andrea, read a book, work on a hobby, walk, be present with your family. We're all guilty of it, but it's here.
It's not worth.
Stay healthy, my friends.
Stay healthy, my friends. That's a good way to wrap it up. I love it.
Stay healthy, my friends. You know, social media is a black hole of the soul. It's true. Oh, it's so toxic.
Yeah, it can be.
Mm-hmm.
It can be.
But it's literally like the conduit for branding. So it's a hard place to be.
It's the real world personified.
Yeah.
It's just like magnified.
Mm-hmm. But just make sure you're using it to better the world.
Amen. Thanks for watching. If you like this type of content, give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section below. If you want to support this channel, consider subscribing for more free content just like this.